Hello and thanks for joining us for Reporters, the programme that brings you the very best stories from our correspondents around the world. Elephants are an endangered species, but experts estimate that in Africa they will be completely wiped out within just 4 years. 20,000 African elephants are slaughtered every year for their valuable tusks. And although the ivory trade is illegal, the poaching continues. Cameroon is now one of the few countries on the continent to address the issue. And one man is behind the crusade. Over the years, Ophir Drory has contributed to the arrest of some 300 ivory traffickers. But his success could come at a high price.
6 a.m. in Yaoundé. The day has barely started here in the Cameroonian capital, but Ophir Drory is already at work.
Bonjour.
Locals call him the man in black, and he's a guest live on state radio this morning.
And welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Ophir's media mission never changes. He's here to draw attention to the illegal traffic in endangered species.
Gorillas, chimpanzees, lions, elephants. These are the species that need our help. Those species are very well traded with rich people and even outside of this country, and that's the focus on the operation. It's those species and especially people who are high up, the real dealers rather than the small poachers on the ground.
Ophir is a poacher's worst nightmare. A former officer in the Israeli army, he now works with Cameroonian officials to hunt down the smugglers. It all started 8 years ago with one meeting. Ophir was writing an article on bushmeat when a trader offered to sell him a young female chimpanzee. Shocked, Ophir freed the animal and founded an organisation called Lager, or Last Great Ape. Today, he and his team go undercover and break up the trafficking rings. Sometimes they manage to trap those right at the top of the chain. Ophir takes us to the scene of one of his biggest victories.
We need to understand that this is a mafia that is doing that. And what is surprising, that the mafia is in the middle of all of these rich quarters with all of the embassies and all of the aid agencies around. It just stands to show what we're fighting for. We're fighting for getting more attention towards this kind of criminality, something that the system does not want to fight or actually afraid to fight. That's what we are trying to do.
In other words, he's also tackling corruption.
This is the house.
Between 2006 and 2008, this house was the centre of a massive ivory traffic to Asia. Every couple of months, nearly 4 tons of elephant tusks were packed in containers and left this garden en route for Hong Kong. Officially, it was an innocent-looking used tyre business operated by 3 Chinese. Ophir and his team managed to break up the smugglers' network, running in Africa since the 80s.
We find many interesting things. There are about 60-something SIM cards. So the guys were just trying to change their numbers every day. That was another interesting thing there. And of course, as I was saying, the most interesting thing for us to find was a receipt that was actually a receipt for a bribe. A receipt where the main culprits were actually instructing people here to take money, take 1 million sefa, and go and liberate our main witness in Douala. And actually they succeeded.
But the disappearance of this key witness wasn't enough to derail the investigation. Indeed, it's still ongoing and has spread to several other countries. For their efforts, Lager and the Cameroonian authorities were congratulated by Interpol. Over the past 7 years, Lager's work has resulted in the seizure of several hundred tons of ivory, hundreds of wild animal skins, and many kilos of bushmeat. But they've also managed to free wild animals such as chimps or parrots, earmarked for unscrupulous foreign collectors. In total, 280 traffickers have been jailed. That's 1 a week. But some of them don't stay in prison for long, because in Cameroon, corruption is rife. That becomes clear when we head out to the markets. In the car park of a small hotel, we meet a local trader and tell him we're looking for ivory.
I've got ivory, but it makes me nervous. I was caught with it. They catch people with it. I had an appointment with a customer like you, and I was totally shocked because as I showed him the goods like this, the police came and caught me.
And then what happened?
I gave the police some money.
How much?
I gave him 50,000.
50,000?
And he let me go.
There are hundreds of stories like this in Cameroon. A blind eye is turned, and often it's local currency that has the last word. In the boutiques, there's now no sign of ivory on the shelves, but Ophir tells us that some stores still stock it behind the counter. We decide to check it out. We head to the Briquet, a market well known for handling a large flow of ivory. We pose as tourists looking for ivory, and in less than 5 minutes, a trader is offering us the stuff, as they call it here.
How much does that cost? 25,000 and 15,000 for a pair. What about that?
With this footage, we go back to Ophir.
These things are usually less interesting for us because usually they're not connected to the main trade. We can still find a lot of small rings and small bracelets around. This is the one that is interesting. Now, see, that is the connection to the main trade. Maybe the same person who showed you the small chops, some very small quantity of chopsticks, is having far larger quantity somewhere that is already waiting for its buyer, that was already ordering it.
Ophir decides to follow up on the chopsticks. He sends his investigator, Julia, back to the market with us. On the way to the Briquet, Julia seems relaxed, although this area has a rough reputation.
Often these people are really aggressive, always ready to react. Fights can break out.
We return to the same shop as the day before, home of those suspicious chopsticks. But today, there's no one here to greet us. But a few minutes later, a neighbouring trader approaches us. He already knows Julia, who's posing as our local fixer.
I can show you what I've got. I can find some for you. A pair, 2 meters long. It depends if you're really interested. I've got a photo. I'll go get it.
The trader says he's got a pair of tusks to sell us and wants to prove it. But suddenly, another man turns up and starts shouting from the doorway.
You're here to arrest people. This is the last time you set foot in here. We don't want trouble with you. Don't come into our homes bothering us.
Lager has already struck many times in this neighbourhood. Obviously, we've been spotted. The man becomes more and more threatening.
We're telling you, the next time we see you, we're burning your car.
Julia remains calm and follows our ivory seller into the shop next door. In the end, there's no sign of the chopsticks, only a few bits of jewellery and a faded old photograph where we can just make out a pair of tusks. Julia says she'd like to see the real thing.
It's about the ivory. So it didn't work out with you, but there will be others who will take it. I don't know how we're going to do it.
He's asking for money to go and collect the goods.
I'll think about it and I'll call you.
No problem.
This often happens. Look, for now we'll go and see Ophir and he'll decide.
Back in the Lager offices, Julia tells the story, but Ophir is only interested in one thing, the run-in with the angry trader.
Any violence, you are picking up your phone, you're talking to me, and everything is cancelled. Okay. You understand me? Mm-hmm. That was a totally unnecessary risk. You understand me?
Mm-hmm. The problem is, I thought since the crowd was already coming, I thought it would have been more dangerous if I called. That's why I didn't want to call. I just wanted to...
I understand what you are saying, but you do not look for more adventures when something like this happens. Something like this happens, you take the car, you move. You do understand that it could have ended totally differently.
Yes.
High risk and no real leads. Ophir decides to drop that investigation. The Lager team knows that if one of them is recognised, things can turn nasty very fast. This morning, Ophir is already stressed. His best investigator has been kidnapped for several hours. His captors were eventually caught. Now, Ophir's challenge is to make sure they stay in custody.
The major idea was to inform as many people as possible of the situation that we have on the kidnapping, so that people from the international community will be able to be involved in that case and help us to see that those 5 people that are arrested will actually stay behind bars and not released.
A relieved Ophir greets Maurice, his newly liberated teammate.
We're all thinking that either you're in hospital somewhere or even worse. It was Jean-Paul that was the first one to say it, to say no. be prepared. If we're getting this Mercedes, be prepared that you have a body in the trunk.
Morris spent several hours locked inside the Mercedes, but managed to hang on to the images he filmed, a vital bit of evidence for the investigation.
So that is inside his house?
Yeah.
Here it is. So when you say too small task, it was this. It's not that small. It's not that small. It's still...
No, but it's an exciting, challenging, exciting job.
Yeah.
Yes, a challenging, exciting job.
I was thinking you'll come here and you'll tell me, I don't want to do this job again, Ophir.
But the kidnapping hasn't shaken their determination. Earning just $100 a month, Ophir doesn't have many home comforts. He lives in his office and sacrifices everything for this battle.
I miss a lot the time where I was free, where I was just traveling from country to country. I wish I could reconnect that, but I can't. Because if I do that, I feel that I'm leaving a responsibility behind, a lot of things that I can do, that I should do, to bring about a change, to participate in something here.
Thanks to Ophir, Cameroon is a shining example in the fight against poaching. But his ambitions go far beyond that. He's now conducting investigations in Gabon, in the Central African Republic, and in Congo-Brazzaville. Soon, he'll be adding 3 more African countries to the list.
Well, that's it for this edition of Reporters. You can watch this story and all our other reports once again on our website. That's france24.com, france24.com. Until next time, bye for now.